I met him 15 years ago. I was told there was nothing left. No reason, no conscience, no understanding, and even the most rudimentary sense of life or death, of good or evil, right or wrong. I met this 6-year-old child with this blank, pale, emotionless face and the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes. I spent 8 years trying to reach him, and then another 7 trying to keep him locked up, because I realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil.
Boogeyman band coming round the bend. Is Boogeyman band. Is Boogeyman band.
Greetings, my fellow Fright Fiends, and thanks so much for dropping by the Horror Zone channel. I hope everyone's doing well. Today's video is one that I've been wanting to do for a while now, ranking the various timelines in the Halloween franchises. You know, as Sean Clark says, this is kind of the choose-your-own-adventure of horror film franchises. I guess a second to that would be like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre series, which has had like lots of reinventions and things like that. But we have several timelines in this franchise that started back in 1978 and just concluded with last year's Halloween Ends. I thought about doing this video back when Halloween Ends came out, but there was a lot of YouTubers that were doing that. So I really just didn't want to follow the trends. I always like to do my own thing when I'm ready to do it. I don't like to go with the flow and be like everybody else. I just feel like that's boring. I sort of started in that vein where I was like, oh, this is what's popular now. Let me try to get my video out before everybody else's. And now I don't care. It's like I'm going to always do what's in my heart. If it's not the right time to do it, I'm not going to do it, because that's not fair to you guys, because you guys will be able to tell that I'm just not into what I'm talking about. And part of me hopes that now that the shape has been laid to rest for now, I do think that he will reemerge someday in some form. But I am curious how they are going to continue the franchise, and I'm curious if they will pick up where Halloween 3 left off. I would love to see a continuation of that film, a film that has really grown in popularity with me because it was not one of my favorite films growing up. But I have every film in the franchise. I have the box set, of course, put out by Scream Factory back in 2014. Sorry about the glare there. There you go. But yeah, I love this set. It's one of my prized possessions. And then, of course, I have the 3 new films right here. I wasn't able to get the Steelbook for this one because people bought them all and sold them for ridiculous prices, and I wasn't about to pay that. And I'm not going to go into a ton of detail on like each of the films, but I am going to talk about why the franchise, or why these particular timelines rank the way they do for me. And I'm sure people are going to be critical of what I say, but again, I grew up with this franchise. The first film came out when I was 4 years old. I didn't see it when it came out. I didn't see it until many years later, but I did see Halloween 2 when I was about 8 or 9 years old, so I saw that one first. So Halloween 2 was my introduction to this character. But my grandmother, who I've talked about many times, she's 103, she's one of my best friends of all time. She is the reason I love this franchise, and I've mentioned it many times, especially when talking about the character of Dr. Loomis, played by the late, great Donald Pleasence, also played by Malcolm McDowell in the Rob Zombie films. But that character is very important to me, especially the way that it was portrayed by Donald Pleasence. Now, before I rank these timelines, I want to just say, and I've said it before, I love all of the Halloween films, even Resurrection. I know people shit on that one all the time, as I like Halloween 5, even though I have some problems with it. All of these films are comfort films for me, even the Rob Zombie films. I don't get the hate for some of them, that some people just like to trash them, and I don't understand why. But yeah, I just am going to do this real quick. I'm not going to go, a lot of the YouTubers tend to be long-winded. I'm going to be very specific about why they rank the way they do, and I hope everyone enjoys this, and please stay tuned. Timeline that I am least, that's my least favorite, is I'm going to just call it the Resurrection timeline. So that is Halloween, the original Carpenter classic, Halloween 2, H20, and Resurrection. And I think the reason for this is because these 2 films have aged really badly for me. Even though I like them, H20 and Resurrection just are not ones that I like to watch very often, and I don't know what it is about them, but this is when they started doing things that I wasn't crazy about. They started changing, saying that, certain films didn't happen. And I invested into the characters in the films that they discontinued from this franchise, and that being 4, 5, and 6. So I was disappointed in that. I thought it was kind of cheap and lazy. But I understand that because Curse didn't do well, they kind of wanted to do something different. Plus, they got Laurie Strode back. They got Jamie Lee Curtis to come back. So, of course, they wanted to sort of form the film around her. And I think it's, like I said, there's things about H20 I love. I think the opening is great. I think that Jamie Lee Curtis kicks ass in it. I love LL Cool J in it, Josh Hart in it. But the problem I have is I just am not a big fan of Chris Durand. Nothing against him, but I just didn't like the way he played Michael Myers. I wasn't scared of him in this film. I think the ending still kicks ass. If that's the way they were going to end it, I think it was a perfect ending. I think Resurrection kind of screws things up a little bit, but that's, again, the way that they went. Next for me is going to be the Rob Zombie timeline, and I love both of these films. I like Halloween 2 a little bit more than this one. I think the strength of Rob Zombie's first film for me is the first half of it. I know some people say that's explaining too much, but for me, it's like that's the strength of it. I hadn't seen that before. I wanted to see, what it was like for Michael in the asylum with Dr. Loomis. I appreciate Rob Zombie doing it the way that he did. And for me, the last half of this film just feels rushed. That being said, I think this is a superior film. I know a lot of people have a hard time with this one because it is so glaringly different, but that's what I like about it. Again, this one I felt like Rob Zombie, even though I know he was kind of combating, the people that had given his previous film a lot of shit, I felt like this was his own story, and he was able to take these characters in directions that we hadn't seen before, and that's why I appreciate this film so much. It's a much more brutal film. It's a dark film. Yes, there are some moments that, with regards to character development that people don't care for, but like I said, I really enjoy this film a lot, and the more that I've watched it, the more that I like it. I know it's on the bottom of most people's list, but I think this timeline works really well, and I have fun with both these films. Saw both of them twice in the movie theater. The next timeline for me will be the newer timeline, and that I guess you want to call it 2018 timeline. I guess we'll call it that. So that would be the original Halloween 2018, Halloween Kills, and Halloween Ends. These films, this one's a masterpiece. But I was very excited when Halloween 2018 came out. Yes, I was upset when they announced that all of the sequels were being excised from this timeline, so this was just going to be a direct sequel to the original Halloween. I think everybody did a great job. It was great to see Jamie Lee Curtis come back, even though we had seen her, a different way come back and battle Michael. I was kind of curious to see, how this was going to differ from H20. I think that this one's a lot grittier than H20. I like a lot of the characters in this. The biggest reservation I had about the characters is Judy Greer, and nothing against that actress, but I would have really liked to have seen Danielle Harris play the character of Karen. I think that would have been better. But everybody in this does a great job, and I thought that James Hugh Courtney was absolutely fantastic as Michael Myers. He's in my top 5 actors as Michael Myers. He's amazing. And this is a great film, and I loved Halloween Kills. There's some issues with some of the writing in Halloween Kills with regards to some of the dialogue. Some amazing, iconic Michael Myers moments in this film that still stick with me to this day. I really loved how these films just got darker as they went. They all dealt with different types of subject matter. In the first one, you deal with somebody that's still going through PTSD, that being Laurie Strode from what happened to her, 40 years earlier. And then in this one, you're dealing with the town of Haddonfield going through that trauma of what Michael had done. And then when you get to Ends, you're dealing with personification of evil and what it means to pass it on. Like, is Michael's reign going to continue in the character of Corey Cunningham? But yeah, I really like these films a lot. I think Halloween Ends gets a lot of unfair shit. I think it's actually a really good film. But again, I know that there's a lot of people that thought it betrayed, what the original film, and especially Kills, sort of laid out. Michael was kind of sidelined in this film. But I still have fun with it. I think it was a good ending. There is a different ending that I heard about, and I don't know if it's 100% true. But it was an ending where, you know, Michael dies at the end, and Corey, who you think is dead, comes back to life. So it's almost like the evil did pass. And I thought that would have been really a cool ending. But I'm satisfied with the way that this went. My next timeline favorite is Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. I really hope that the people in control of this franchise make a sequel to Halloween 3. Even if it's like a Netflix something. I would really love to see this while Tom Atkins is still with us. I would really love to see them pick up what happened. You know, what happened after the closing scene of this film. I would love to see what happened. And I think this is a film that has gotten so popular over the last decade. I mean, people love this film now. You're seeing companies just really exploit this property now with Living Dead Dolls, Trick or Treat Studios. They're all putting out these amazing products from this film, and I think this is just aching for a sequel. And I would really like to see them try something different. The original idea for a Halloween franchise after Halloween 2 was kind of like an anthology, like that every film would be different. It would be centered around Halloween, but it would be a different story. And I think that's really a good idea. Do we really want to see Michael Myers come back again? I love the character, don't get me wrong, but I would like to see them try something different. Do something with some of these other stories. Pick up from this one and then try to do a different story. You know, that was a really interesting idea that they had in the 80s, but they just didn't market this one well, and when people went to see this, they were confused because Michael wasn't in it. I guess you want to call it the Thorn Timeline, or whatever you want to call it, and that being Halloween, Halloween 2, Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers, and Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. Now, there's some of these films that rank low for me, specifically Halloween 5. It is not my favorite film in the franchise by a long shot. But what these films have that the other films don't is Donald Pleasance. Donald Pleasance, Dr. Loomis, and him on a quest to stop Michael's reign of terror on Haddonfield. And for me, that is what hooks me. I love all of these films. In fact, 3 of these films I got to see in the movie theater when they opened. My first being Halloween 4. Saw this when I was a freshman in high school. It opened in October of 1988. And it was such a blast seeing it because at this point, there hadn't been a Michael Myers film in 7 years. And I think it worked really well with Halloween 4. When they did Halloween 5, I feel like they betrayed the foundation that they left with Halloween 4. I think they should have taken it in a different direction. I'm not saying Michael shouldn't have been in it, but I think it should have been focusing on Jamie and the whole idea of passing of the evil, because that's what they focused on in Halloween Ends a little bit. With Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers, I do think this is one of the best depictions of Loomis. Again, Donald Pleasance was in ill health when he shot this film, but his dedication to the role, you know, it saddens me to watch it, but the producer's cut specifically, I was always disappointed in the director's cut. The producer's cut, I think the character goes out in a very interesting fashion. I would have been curious if he would have lived and they would have kept that original ending, where they would have gone in Halloween 7. Donald Pleasance left us so long ago, and the void that he left has never been filled for me, and he's been gone for nearly 30 years. It's kind of crazy. I mean, it just hit 28 years this year that he died, and his absence from the franchise, my heart just isn't in those other films. I enjoy them, and I have fun watching them, but my heart will always be with these 5 films because of his involvement. And I don't know why, but that was my hook into the franchise. And I think a lot of it had to do with my grandmother. She loved Dr. Loomis. She loved the character. The audience is Dr. Loomis. He's trying to warn people about what's coming, and nobody's listening to him. And that's what frustrated my grandmother and frustrated me, but it also endeared me to that character, that the dedication that he had was to stop Michael's reign of terror. But I think my favorite timeline of the entire franchise is these first 2 films. I think if they had ended it with Halloween 2, I think it's a satisfying conclusion. Yes, it would have been interesting. You know, it's always interesting to see, well, what if he survived that? But these 2 films for me are one story. And when I watched these, I'm like, if they would have just concluded with Halloween 2, that's just a kick-ass 2-film storyline that really feels like one film because it all takes place on the same night pretty much. I still think these are the 2 scariest films in the franchise. They just work so well for me and I enjoy them so much, and I think this is just the best story. I think this is the best story. These 2 are the best, and I think if they were going to go out, this would have been the film to go out on and then start something different like they tried to do with Halloween Season of the Witch. But that's my those are my thoughts. That's my ranking of the Halloween timelines. I'm curious if anybody else feels like I do. But again, I love this guy. I love the Halloween franchise. Like I said, they're a comfort for me. And also want to thank my friend again, Matt Grable, for sending me this shirt last summer. I thought it was special to wear this one during this breakdown of the Halloween timelines, and yeah, I had a lot of fun doing this, and curious what other people think about my ranking of the timelines. Leave your comments down below. Let me know how you would rank them. Please be kind. I know that this is a very divisive franchise right now. I know there's a lot of people that don't like the routes that they went. I know that some people just absolutely hate the Rob Zombie films, but look, we're all horror fans. We all have different tastes. There's all things that we sometimes like that other people don't, and vice versa, but we can all show each other some respect, and I just hope that people will continue to do that. I'm really grateful that people, pretty much for the most part, will always be respectful to people in this community, in the Horror Zone community. I really appreciate it, and I want to thank everyone again for taking the time to stop by the channel and watch this. I have some other stuff planned, and I hope everyone's doing well, and I will talk to you again real soon. Take it easy, stay scared as always, and remember, you can't kill the boogeyman. Hey fellow Fright Fiends, just want to say thank you again for supporting Boogeyman Ben's Horror Zone. If you're brand new to the channel and you haven't yet subscribed, please hit the subscribe button down below, hit the bell notification so you're updated every time I drop a new video. I typically do this once or twice a week with new content. I've been doing this for over 11 years, and the horror genre is a passion of mine, and it really means a lot to me that I can share that passion with all of you guys. Thanks so much again for the support, and I'll talk to you again later. Take it easy, stay scared as always.